Namaskar and hello out there. Abhidevananda here, still hovering over the Ocean of Bliss. But once again, as you can see, morning has broken. Just over there, the sun is rising. And yes, this is still the Ocean of Bliss, not the Atlantic, not the Pacific, the Ocean of Bliss. And the weather is simply fantastic. Not too hot, not too cold, just right, in my opinion. So last night I ended my remarks by pointing out that we are all of us his tiny children. And consequently, instead of pretending wisdom, better to strive to be wise. Instead of pretending to know more or better than Baba, we should simply struggle to be worthy of him. This morning, I want to amplify this point. On Baba's second world tour, at the end of his second stay in Bangkok, Baba and his entourage were to leave on a morning flight from Bangkok to Taipei. But while at the airport, before going through immigration to the departure area, Baba sat for some time with a few Margis who were remaining behind. And at the very last moment, the RS of Bangkok, still a brahmachari, came running in. You may know him nowadays as Acharya Maheshwarananda Avadhuta. Baba was very pleased to see him and said, "You see, this boy has 3 qualities." In Baba's often dramatic style, Baba was preparing to list Maheshwaranandaji's 3 especially good features. And then something still more. So the list began. First, he is my local guardian. Okay. As the RS in Thailand, RS Bangkok, was definitely Baba's local guardian. Baba was in Bangkok. That was pretty obvious. Second, he is my Mandarin Chinese teacher. Over the last few days, whenever Baba would explain a word in Chinese, Baba would jokingly remark, "And you see, I learned all my Chinese from this boy," pointing to Maheshwaranandaji. Perhaps it was some reference to a past life. I doubt that we will ever know what that joke was really about. Then Baba said, "Third, he is a little boy." Then Baba added, "I have only 1 quality." Well, who could resist asking to know what that quality was? Maheshwaranandaji had 3 qualities, but Baba had only 1. So after we had played the role of straight men and asked the obvious question, Baba said, "I have only 1 quality. I am a good student." Then after a slight pause for dramatic effect, Baba amplified this. "Whatever you tell me, I will remember. I never forget a lesson, and I am always ready to learn something new." As you may imagine, we were all stunned by what Baba had just said. But then after another dramatic pause, Baba continued, "Even if you know everything, still you should maintain the attitude of a good student, being ready to learn something new." And that brings me to yet another story. This happened in the late 1980s, about 10 years after that Bangkok incident. The DMC, the Dharma Mahachakra, had just completed. Offhand, I don't recall whether it was the summer DMC or the winter DMC. And now the training was going on for the global trainers in our diocese level seminar program. Every 6 months, some philosophical topics were always selected and training was given so that this education could be disseminated to all of the Margis around the world, combined with organizational classes, and down to the village level. Always in that program, Baba's latest Renaissance Universal speech, delivered only a few days earlier, was included. But this time that speech was very novel. And truth be told, though the RU speech was always given in English, my mother tongue, this discourse flew way above my head. Something about multiple universes, multiple Brahmas. But let me not go into the subject because I really did not understand it. And when the class was given on the topic in that seminar training program, it was clear to me that the instructor also did not understand. I won't mention names here out of respect for the dead, but the long and the short of it was that he basically presented the topic as just a rehash of Brahmachakra. And I, perhaps being a bit vain about my ignorance, raised my hand and said, I really don't know what this topic is about, but I am sure of one thing. It was not about Brahmachakra. As you may well imagine, I was promptly told to sit still and shut up. Well, maybe the words were more polite, I don't recall. Perhaps the greatest attraction of those global training sessions, definitely the greatest attraction for me, was that Baba would occasionally grace us with his presence for a few minutes. But Baba did not come on the day when this particular class was given. But that does not mean Baba did not know everything that was said and everything that happened. And regardless of that, every night he took a report from the head trainer about the classes. So, that night, Baba did the same thing. And maybe he went a bit deeper, I don't know. The next morning, that head trainer came back into the classroom much chastened. When he had told Baba about the classes and the position taken that the subject was about Brahmachakra, Baba became furious, telling him that it had nothing at all to do with Brahmachakra, but apparently not explaining much as to what it really was about. And so that class was repeated. But this time someone else took over. And he ranted a bit about nuclear physics. Again, I won't mention the name of that teacher. He's still alive. And still ranting a bit, I guess. Although this too, whatever he said, was just pretentious nonsense. Anyway, we, or at least I, remained largely in the dark about that RU speech. Even after 2 classes on the subject, I still didn't understand. And in fact, nowadays it may be difficult, if not impossible, to even find a published copy of that discourse. Perhaps someone will have a copy of that particular seminar guidebook and find it therein. I don't have that. Anyway, the one thing I did learn was that out of all the blah blah that took place, Baba only appreciated my remark. And what I had said was nothing genius. Essentially, I had only said, I did not understand the topic. I had only been candid in admitting my ignorance. I did not pretend to know what I did not know, and this was not even a particularly laudable thing, because all WTs, all whole-timers like myself, have a conduct rule to this effect. One should not give any false answer and should not should consult with one's seniors for the correct answer. But what happens when our seniors also don't know the correct answer? Then we simply admit a gap in our knowledge and go on studying. In short, Tattakas and Acharyas and Margis in general are not perfect. We may be asked questions or face situations where we really don't know the correct response. And there is no shame in admitting that fact. On the contrary, what is shameful is to pretend to know what we do not know. And so nowadays in Ananda Marga, we might not know the correct way forward. Personally, I am very confident that by Baba's grace I do know that, but many may not. And that is okay. What is not okay is pretending to know what one does not know, and making no genuine effort to learn. Like Baba, we must always maintain the attitude of a good student. So my point this morning is that our organization nowadays is fractured. The unity of the Margis has been shattered, and this is a monumental crime, a crime of the highest order. In chapter 42 of Charya Charya Part 1, Baba lists unshakable unity among yourselves as one of the 3 treasures of Ananda Marga. And in chapter 3 of Charya Charya Part 2, Baba instructs the unity of Ananda Margi should not be allowed to be jeopardized for any reason. Unity should be maintained even at the risk of your life. But still, the unity of the Ananda Margis has been broken, and various so-called organizational leaders, including 2 so-called Paroda Pramukhs, both of whose performance is not in the least bit dignified or even memorable, although certainly pretentious. They, the various largely self-appointed organizational leaders, do not just tolerate, but even capitalize on this divided state. It is a great crime, and they knowingly commit it. Recently, while translating Song 2938 of Prabhat Sangeet, I came across a rather obscure term, smrtir asampramoś. The first word is clear. Smritir means of memory, but asampramoś, it does not appear in any online Bengali to English dictionary, and a web search also gives no clue. We don't find the word in Baba's books either. So finally, with some persistence, I located that exact concept in an old Sanskrit lexicon. It means a false loss of memory. So let me give an example. Let's say that someone, not you of course, committed a crime, and under examination by a prosecutor in court, that person is asked whether he or she did the crime. Well, what can he say? If he says, yes, I did it, then he will be convicted of the crime then and there. And if he pleads some right to avoid the question, some right on the basis of not needing to incriminate himself, that too may be treated as an indirect admission of guilt. So, what is the reply? What does he say? He says, I don't remember. But of course, he does remember, or at least he could remember. He simply chooses not to remember, or only pretends not to remember. This is smrtir asampramoś, a non-loss of memory. So if there is one thing that every single Ananda Margi knows today, even the new Margis who have only been around for a few weeks or months, it is that our unity has been fractured. Everybody knows it. But unfortunately, some individuals, some MIPs, some men in power, actually foment division and seek to profit from it. But let's be clear about this. Not only are they sinners, they also know that they are sinners. For the rest of us, well, it is not a sin if one does not know the solution to this problem. It is, however, a sin to idly sit by and accept the division, or still worse, to pretend that one's own groupist faction is the solution, when in fact it is clearly a part of the problem. I speak these words without hesitation, and also referencing the main traitors in Ranchi, Calcutta, and around the world, those who propagate divisive and exploitive social sentiments. Namaskar.